The discussion you are about to endure, while based on true current events, is a fictional show with fictional characters. The writers, speakers, and voice performers herein do not necessarily agree nor disagree with any statements or claims made on the show.
I think we were just comparing. I was saying that I don't necessarily like making generalizations.
Oh,
That's what I'm
okay.
saying. So like to me, say, you in that situation, I would be like, if I don't know about it, like I don't know from first hand accounts, like I'm the other friend. Like this the middle friend. You got my one homie. He he knows the intel. He's pretty confident that the girl that he has information from, because they very good friends, has given good information about this girl that my other friend is interested in. Right, right, right. I would be like, bro, you need to find out for yourself. Don't judge her based
Based
off.
on what they said.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Fair enough. I mean, that's just like, at work, people are like, I don't want to, I don't want to give you my impression. Like when a new person starts and you're introducing them to people or talking about people or whatever, and you're like, okay, well, I don't really like this person, but I don't want to tell you that I don't like this person because I want you to be able to form your own opinion about them
Right,
yourself.
right.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. But I still think safety is more important than any of that. And I mean, if you were going to bring up STDs, I think that safe sex is more important than any of that. Because there's a lot of dudes that try to use this whole like, oh, I don't like wearing condoms. They don't fit me right. They don't feel right. Whatever. No, fuck you. Wrap your shit.
Absolutely. For various reasons, actually, had to come into the knowledge of how interesting the world is in that way. Like, did you know that some people can be stronger carriers than others?
Really?
Yep.
No.
So that just basically means that not everybody displays symptoms the same way.
Well, no, I know that. So I know that there are things that people can be a carrier of and not have any symptoms of.
Absolutely.
But what do you mean by a stronger
That
carrier?
that exactly. Like
They're stronger in the sense that they don't have the
they don't
symptoms.
display any symptoms, and they
Okay.
could
I
carry.
thought you meant stronger as in they're more likely to spread it or something.
I mean, they are. I mean, by that way, because they don't believe that they have anything.
Oh, right. See, I am very firm believer in getting tested. I get tested at least once a year because you just never know. But it blows my mind how many people are like won't go get tested. Like I was talking to someone and I was like, yeah, do you get tested or whatever? And he was like, no, like I never have, like I never had any issues, whatever. And I was like, well, why not? Like, I don't know how many people you have sex with in a year or whatever, but like you should be going and getting the test done at least once in a while to know where you stand. And also because like don't be that person that's like spreading something unknowingly. Like and then that brings up the case of like people that know that they have something and then they don't want to tell people that they have this something, and it's like that's not fair to that other person if you don't disclose that information to them.
Wow. I mean, I think it's one of those things. Actually, I was just watching a video that was kind of educational. Now that I think about it, because like I went into prejudging because the way that some of the people looked, I was basically like, you look like, you look like you live a lifestyle that would be indicative of what you have.
I want to know what that looks like. What does that mean?
I mean, the symptom of which they were had the misfortunes of having.
Because it's funny to me because you can't really tell by the way that someone looks.
No, I said the lifestyle.
Oh,
They're-
and that's even funny too because it's not always about the lifestyle.
Oh no, in this case, no. I mean, I do realize that, but I'm saying in this case, they all had HIV.
Oh, okay.
And so
Was it from like sharing needles or something?
no, it was most of them
Oh.
was sexual.
Oh.
And so
Oh.
and so yeah, I mean, it was two. It was one that I was quite surprised by, and then the other one, she looked normal, but come to find out,
That's
she
interesting
was
to
born
me.
with it, and so was the other guy that I
Oh,
was
they were
surprised.
born with
Yeah,
it. Okay, because what my
two of them. Yeah.
I have a friend who has HIV, and he was telling me that in order for a straight couple to spread HIV, it would be ridiculously hard because there would have to be a lot of blood involved. It would have to be like ridiculously rough sex, which is why it's so much easier to spread between homosexuals because they're doing anal and there's a lot of tearing and things of that nature. Yeah. Sorry if this is really gross, but it's factual and it's important information to share because I didn't know that. I mean,
those that no.
And sure. I was very concerned when he came out to me and told me that, he was dealing with this. I was like, oh, well, how do I make sure that I'm not getting this from you in some way? And it's like, we had to have that whole discussion of like, no, like, essentially I would have to be bleeding, you would have to be bleeding, and then somehow we would have to, like, we'd have to be like blood brothers or whatever, like where you cut your hand open and touch it to each other for that to happen. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that's at least good to know how that works, but there's a lot of other STDs that are spread a lot easier than that.
Well, yeah, I mean, the one of the more common ones that a lot of people test, many people in the population, especially Western civilization, is herpes complex B, I believe it is.
Yeah, so there's like 1 and 2, and a lot of people have them from their parents, from birth, from a lot of different things, and it's hard because there is such a stigma around it, but there are ways to prevent from spreading it, and people like aren't always on top of that.
I mean, that's because number one, I mean, shoot, I would say that the education that I had about sex in general was just from me stumbling across porn, like many people.
Right.
And then, like, when your parents ask you, you say, hey, we talked about it in school. I mean, you get yourself out the conversation with your parents and you dialogue about it with your friends. So your friends become your mentors. Older siblings become, they tell you what the move is, and then you do your best to make whatever happen. So
I have been a sex educator among my friends, and it is blasphemy to me that like that even has to be a thing. Why did we not learn these things in school? And we did have a class in school which showed us like the different STDs, and like we had to see horrifying pictures of someone with like extremely extremely advanced cases of genital warts and like disgusting things, and it's like, okay, you guys are pretty much trying to scare us into not having sex rather than actually educating us on how the process works or what these things are or how they're spread. And so like, I don't know, I know a lot about these things, but so yeah, I don't know. There's things that people can do to keep from spreading certain things, and then there's other things that are like less helpful. Like HPV is something that like genital warts, and it's something that's carried by more than 50% of the world, and mostly only men show symptoms of it. Women very rarely show symptoms of HPV. And there's actually a vaccine that women can get. It's a 3-part vaccine. Usually they recommend it when you're a teenager, when you go to your first gynecologist appointment or even your regular doctor, and you can get it taken. And it's 3 shots over the series of 3 months. And my friend was explaining it to me because she works at the CDC. She was explaining to me how it works. But it's only for girls. From what I understand, maybe I'm wrong, but if there's a chance for guys to take it too, they should take it. Because
as I understand it, there are some things that women bodies adapt to, cater to more than ours does. Like certain things can have a more degrading effect on our bodies than women's. So
right.
That's pretty much what it comes down to. I told you y'all corrupt us.
No, you're full of crap. No, but I mean, I just think it's important that people out there are being safe, and if you are in an intimate relationship with someone who is, carrying something that you per se don't want to catch, make sure that you're having open conversations with them about it. And even like offering to go with them to talk to the doctor about it, to figure out what you can do that's most safe for you. A lot of people that have HIV or herpes, HSV, whatever, they're on antivirals or things for that. And a lot of times, if they're on top of their shit, they know what that does to their body. They know what that does for the chances of spreading it. And just, talk to them, do your own research, do whatever you need to do to feel secure about what you're getting involved in. And it's funny because I've had friends come to me that literally just a few weeks ago that I haven't talked to in forever. And they're like, Christina, I don't know who else to go to about this, but, oh, my name's not Christina. Okay, cut that out. I recently had a friend that I haven't talked to in forever come to me and say, hey, I'm dealing with this. I met this person I really like, and he told me he is a carrier of this. What do? I don't know who else to talk to. And it blows my mind that people don't know where to go to get information on these things. Maybe we need to include some links or something on where to find information about safe sex practices, especially safe sex with people that are carriers of certain things. But yeah, talk to them, be open with them, make sure that there's someone that you trust to be open with you, because I know specifically with things like herpes or whatever, if you're suffering from an outbreak or whatever, you have to tell your partner. And if you don't tell them, you're going to spread it to them. So little things like that, like make sure that the person you're with, you trust them enough to be open and talk to you about that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What I was going to say was it's interesting to me, like, how being uneducated, I suppose, can leave you in a bad situation, potentially even worse, because a lot of times, I guess we're at a point in our medical technology now where a lot of these things are able to be put into a docile, or even I think in the video I was watching, they were saying with HIV they have something called U equals U, which is undetected, untransmittable.
Yeah.
And I think that's very interesting because for like a long time, through the 90s and the 2010 era, it was thought that HIV was simply incurable. Of course, like the hush speak was like Magic Johnson was cured and a couple other famous people were. But now it's like out in the public, they have like all these different treatments for, HIV. And so it's amazing to me. And maybe at some point they'll get herpes under control. I think the issue with a couple of those is that they tend to be regenerative.
What exactly does that mean?
Like because it doesn't seem like we have the ability right now to eradicate it totally.
Yeah.
Even a little bit can come back.
Well, oh, okay, wait. You mean in the population, not?
No, I mean like
on a macro
you.
level. Oh, in your body.
Yeah.
Well, because from my understanding, with any virus, you're always carrying that virus, just like a cold, and it can stir up or act up or whichever.
Right.
When something happens, but with things like that's why people take antivirals to keep it in that docile state.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think even there are hiccups where even with antivirals, you can still have flare-ups or whatever. But I don't know what causes that. Maybe it's just stress on the body, just like a cold is,
I've known of people who claim that if sometimes it can have something to do with diet and lifestyle. That's what I've heard. I don't know if there's any truth to it, but could be. In combination with like the antivirals you're talking about, that usually gets people into like, I've heard of miracle stories where people say complete remission, but
well, the thing with there are certain things where they can only test for them if you're seeing symptoms of them. And that's what is some weird hiccups too, because then you're like, oh, we ran the blood tests and we run these tests, but there are some things that unless you have some symptom, like whether it's a herpes outbreak or a genital wart or something like visibly that the doctor can take a sample of. Like for women, that's why they do pap smears to look for abnormal cells inside the cervix to see if you have any growths or whatever that could be, because that's, I guess, how women show HPV. I don't know, like men get it on the outside and women get on the inside. So like unless they find something during one of those tests, they can't say whether or not you're positive for it, even if you know that you carry it, which is, it makes it really a complicated and sticky situation. And from what my doctor was telling me, that there are a lot of cases of like HPV where it heals itself, where people like, oh yeah, like you can be positive and then not be positive for it, like usually within like 2 years or something. And I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
Well, I was gonna say, that's kind of what I think. I think that's probably like the miracle part I'm talking about, because like I've heard of people claim that, you know, they switch their diet or whatever, their lifestyle change, and they're cured. They don't have those symptoms anymore. But that's kind of like what I was alluding to earlier, because like I actually had heard a news story like a year or so ago where, and this is actually when I was first considering jumping on something like a Tinder, and it was like, yo, don't do this, because the news report said that there was like a new aggressive strain of gonorrhea and chlamydia out.
Oh, that's so scary.
That's kind of like, and those
resistant to antibiotics.
Resistant to the new thing. And I was like,
that's so scary.
Maybe I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe I just want to chill.
Well, and it's funny too, because things like chlamydia and gonorrhea, they're things that like you just take some antibiotics and they're gone. Yeah. Like I think there's something like that starts with a T, trike or something, and it's like literally just one pill and it like heals it or something. Wow. And it's like, okay, there's these things that are really easy to heal, but then there's people that suffer with things and then they never go get tested. And it's like, why are you guys so scared of going to the doctor?
Well, for that, I wouldn't be afraid of going for that. If I was to be caught up with something like that, I'm going.
Right.
But I think in general, I just, it's one of those things where I feel like for some cultures, doctors haven't always been the best source of medical attention. For instance, I will speak close to home culturally, and I really shouldn't cite this because I don't got my years correct, but the story is factual. Basically, somewhere in Alabama, there was a military experiment on African American males to dope them with syphilis, and they basically recorded their progress over the course of their lifetime to see how long syphilis would stay in the body and live and thrive, and et cetera, et cetera. So if you come from a community where something like that has impacted you, I could see why you would teach your grandkids. Hey,
you would not trust them. Yeah. That's scary.
So
that's one thing I don't know a lot about. I know there's 3 stages of syphilis. I know that Hitler had syphilis and that it can make you mentally crazy.
Yeah, it's something
I don't understand. It's so scary.
I actually did some reading into some of the more popular, thanks to Dave Chappelle a little bit, but some of the more popular.
Thanks to Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, you remember that episode where he had the little puppets and they were all different.
Was that the Gonosypha herpalates?
Yeah, I think it was something like that. And basically what I found about syphilis, syphilis had something to do. It deteriorates your T cells or something like this. It breaks those down. And then because of that, that's what leads to different neurological problems. But actually, any such deficiency, allegedly, I've also read that if you let pretty much anything go on too long, it can start to have negative impacts on your nervous system and other type of lymph nodes.
Well, just like how infections can become sepsis and things like that.
Sepsis, that's a new one for me.
Oh, sepsis is an infection of your blood. So if you had some infection that happened to my mom, I don't remember what she had. But say you have I don't know, a sinus infection or something,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you let it go on too long, it'll infect your lungs. And if you let that go on too long, it'll infect your blood cells and it'll infect your whole blood, which infects your whole body. And then you end up in the hospital. So yeah, there's
Man,
it's terrifying.
stuff ain't nothing to play with, folks.
Yeah, so well, that's why I think it's really important for people that are like that they go to doctors when they feel like something's up with them. You know, I went to the doctor recently and I had something going on, and luckily my doctor was like, "Oh no, it's nothing to worry about. Like that should heal itself on its own. Like you seem okay. Just keep, taking your Mucinex or whatever I was taking." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Like you're not worried about it. I'm fine." But at least I went just in case. Now I understand that's a huge privilege to even be able to do that, because there was a time where I didn't have health insurance, where going to see a doctor was out of pocket over $100 for me. And at that time I was very low income, and $100 was nothing to laugh at. Right. And I, had to make a decision. But I think especially when it comes to like your sexual health, because that affects other people, especially if you're someone who engages in casual sex and isn't, and I mean, even if you are in an intimate relationship, if you're someone that has sex ever, it's important to take care of your sexual health and be aware of what's going on with you, because it affects other people, not just because it affects you. So yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. Because there's a lot of people that aren't on top of their stuff, and that's why.
I think I think unfortunately our culture promotes, I would argue, the misuse of our bodies. I've since been converted because I just one reason I would cite is the whole casual thing doesn't seem to benefit anybody. It seems to only lead to
spreading of diseases.
Well, no. I mean, because there's plenty of people who get down who don't nothing happen to.
Right.
No baby mamas, no baby daddies, none of it. They just drama free. That's why they do it until eventually something happened to them. But it's I'm talking about just more from the emotional standpoint. Like most of the time when I conversate with people, it seems like maybe we have lost the sensibility that should be there for one another. I feel like because many of us may feel like we get it anytime from anyone we want. It's that just that.
I think it's to each their own.
No, I'm saying though, like if. Hey, it's just something about cherishing the person you with. You know what I'm saying? Like if you consider them special, and you see yourself special, then what y'all have is special, and you treat that relationship special. As soon as you start getting into the mindset of this one, that one, the next one, it's like, who are you? Nobody. I get another you tomorrow or next week.
Yeah, but I mean, it also just depends on your prerogative. What if? I mean, everyone's going to have their own lifestyle. I just want people that live their lifestyle to be safe living it. I don't think there's anything wrong with casual hookups, even if it's not really emotionally serving, even if it's, we're all still depressed afterwards, whatever. I
think that's a sad state of existence.
It's just to each their own. I mean, sometimes you don't want a relationship. Yeah. Sometimes you're like, I just want to have fun for right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time.
And then a month later, you in your pillow and your tears, eating ice cream and watching a romantic movie, talking about, so why can't I have that? Why isn't this happening to me? Why are my friends married?
I mean, that comes with self-awareness and other sort of mental states and psychological well-being, and maybe we could talk about that.
I'm just saying, I've seen that conversation too many times, and I just be like, I mean, honestly, I want to solve the problem, and I know not everybody want their problem solved, so I'm not here to solve nobody's problems. I'm just saying, like, when I'm in my imaginary psychological chair, and my psychotherapist has got me on the couch, and I'm laid back. I'm like, fundamentally, sir, what do you think it means? Why did they say that? Why did this happen? Next thing I know, I come up with the thought. I'm like, well, how exactly did their relationship begin? Oh, let's see. They were at a party. Meeting at parties. How's that worked out for my last 10 friends who were in a relationship? Oh, they all broke up. One got smacked. The other one had a baby, and they're no longer together. Something about meeting at parties isn't the best idea. Were they drunk? Yes. But someone will conclude. But they got married. Oh, but they have arguments all the time. Oh my gosh, good sir. They didn't take time to get to know each other. Hey, I'm just telling you what goes on in my head.
Hey.
I'm sorry.
No, I love it. That was great. But I'm just saying that regardless of where you meet someone, there's always going to be things that can or can't happen or whatever. And not everyone is hooking up with the intent of hoping to find a relationship.
I know.
You know, and I mean, I would say most people that have casual sex are not concerned with finding a relationship. And it's when you have people that have different expectations that you get your feelings hurt.
That's true.
You know,
I'm just saying that there is a reason why in our culture we have a diminishing view of what actual relationships are. And those type of activities play into it. So when we ask ourselves, when we're looking for truth and actual connections, and we wonder why we can't have them, it's because we have diminished every single possible relationship we have. You know.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all.
Fair.
Maybe not.
That sounds fair to me. I get it. But I'm
Do
not
your
judging.
thing.
I'm
Do
not
your
judging
thing.
anybody that wants to live their life.
Y'all
Okay,
do
go
your
out
thing.
there, party, have sex.
Do your
Just be
thing.
safe about it.
Do your thing. Do your thing.
Just wear a
that's why we're
condom.
here.
Stop pretending that it's such a big fucking deal.
It kind of is.
Oh my god.
I mean, we didn't even got to spend no time on it. I'm just because I've never asked this. Now, ain't no dude ever lied and said a guy isn't lying when he says it's better without.
Of course.
So,
But guess what? Life is better without herpes.
well, you know, if you take your time, young people, and you find yourself somebody you love and you care about, you ain't got to worry about getting on herpes. You understand what I'm telling you? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh no, you still got to worry. You got to have the conversation.
Well, in our society, we do, yes, because many of us, man, I tell you, like, I thought, now, I would say that the difference between me being 10 and some of these new cats that's 10 is we talked about it. Like, it was like, ha, 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 no, she got the cooties. Nowadays, this cat's 8, 9, talking about something. They doing more than I did before I was 20.
That's nuts.
And they 10.
That really is crazy to me how young people start.
I'm like, bruh, like,
I mean,
bruh, you supposed to be playing with Power Rangers. She playing with your Power Rangers.
Right. Well, I think also that we are in a culture where our kids are growing up so fast. And I mean, you know, you have 15-year-olds, they look like they're 35 with all this makeup and
Sometimes,
the way they carry themselves, the way they dress, which, you know, good for you, woman. You look amazing. But guess what? You're going to get somebody in trouble. There are girls that go out here and they purposely date older men and lie to them about their age. And that is a huge offense.
Yeah,
Gentlemen, make sure you see her ID. And if you are dating someone that looks young enough to be in high school, you are creepy. It's creepy.
True. Also, if you sitting around high school and you ain't got no business at high school, that's creepy.
I just remember being
Please
young.
don't go to McDonald's around high school.
Girls in my grade would be like bragging about dating like a 24-year-old, and it's like, you're 17. What the?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What kind of loser do you have to be at 24 that the only girl you can get is 17?
You know,
It's
I'm curious.
gross.
I'm curious. Is that you now talking, or did you always feel that way? Because like all the girls I knew thought it was cool. Let's keep it real.
I always only dated within like 2 years of my age, except for one time when I was trying to find a sugar daddy, and that was literally just out of money.
I assume you was older.
I was 19.
Holy smokes.
No, I think I was 22.
Okay, that's a little better.
But he was
still.
like 49.
Holy smokes.
And then I found out he smoked crack. It was insane. It was an interesting time. Oh, and he almost choked me out. It was crazy. Needless to say, that was a brief encounter.
I hope it was.
That was a very brief encounter, but I was fully an adult. But no, as a teenager, I thought it was something weird about it.
That's good.
I did think there was something weird about it, and I hate it because someone near and dear to me is in a relationship with someone much older than her, and I love her to death, and they now have a child together, and they live together, but it is kind of disturbing, and I'm not going to tell her to change her life. I'm always going to be here if she needs anything, but you know, a lot of people say it's like, you know, a daddy complex. And unfortunately for this person I care about, something happened with her dad where he was not able to be around. Very sad. But I just wish that she can find happiness in the situation she's in now. I wish that things hadn't gotten to where they are, but it's not my life. And you know, we learn and we grow on our own timelines and when we are ready to hear and accept certain things. And so, you know, hopefully it all works out for them. But it is a little weird to me. Well, just like my mom thinks it's weird if I date someone that's not the same race as me. And she gets really mad. And I'm like, well, Mom, we live in a different world now where this is something that happens.
Wow.
But it's different because it's not a huge age gap. It's just, okay. Let's say this girl, who I love very much, the man that she's with, her baby daddy, now is her baby daddy, but before when they were dating, she had a friend that was his daughter.
That's insane. You know, that situation is unique for sure because to go to the extent that it does, I can say that in my personal life, I have not heard of anything ever lasting long enough to lead to that type of relationship, usually. So, yeah, I got to say that my prayers are out to that situation. I mean, I hope when you were saying some of it, it's more positively aligned. It's just a weird situation.
It's just weird. Yeah, I mean, I think they definitely love each other, and she seems very happy where she is. Yeah. So, and she's well taken care of, and that's what's important.
See, that's good. I was gonna say the only thing that is current culture is strange. Obviously, traditionally, not necessarily so strange. Personally, I ain't never really seen the funness of dating someone super younger than me. I just think it's weird. Like I still have like the old high school perspective of like, you know, someone's in 7th grade, I'm in 9th, like it's a little odd.
Right, we have that like school approach. That's how I am. I'm like, if you aren't the same, because it's the culture is so different. Right. We don't have even the same pop culture references, you know, like. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I could date younger only because I feel like people that are my age are so immature still. And then it's like... All right, so thanks for listening. This has been Night Shift with Courtney Sage.
And Frank Hughes.
All right, we'll see y'all later.